What is this? Like soda that makes you jacked?
Gives you a keg instead of a 6-pack.
Very true. Like, what flavor would that even be?
Champion.
Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Scott again, and this is episode 14, where we'll be talking about long distance running, like the title says, flying solo. So speaking of long runs, I made a pretty big decision a couple days ago. As you guys may remember from last week, I had to do an 18-mile run last weekend, but it had gotten bumped because of illness. There was also a 9-mile run and I think a 6-mile run somewhere in there I needed to do. Well, I've got great news. I was able to make up all of those runs. I believe Saturday I did 6 miles, Monday I did 9 miles in the morning, and then Tuesday I finally did the big one, the 18-miler. I was originally going to skip the 9-miler and the 18-miler and have this be kind of a light week before the Clarendon Day run, but I decided I needed to put in the mileage. I decided I needed to take advantage of the weather we were having, which was absolutely gorgeous, and I decided that I needed to keep up the volume for the product that I'm testing. So I went out on Tuesday and I just freaking did it. I got it done. It wasn't my best run ever, but it actually wasn't terrible. So overall my pace was consistently under a 9-minute mile for the entire run. I think there were maybe 2 or 3 miles where I was in the low 9s, say like 9:10, 9:05. This probably corresponded to some of the hotter or hillier sections in the run. So no harm, no foul. Like I said, it was my best, but it definitely wasn't my worst by any stretch. Funny story, actually. As soon as I finished the run, I wanted to come straight back in, make the video, get it out for you guys as soon as possible. You know, I was all fired up. I just set a new record for distance. It was the longest I've ever run. Especially on my own. I showered, I ate something, I had the TV on, I was sitting on the couch, and I actually just ended up falling asleep for about 2 or 3 hours. As you guys can obviously figure out, it was extremely physically taxing. It was actually very mentally taxing as well, and there were a lot of points where I just wanted to kind of throw my hands up in the air and just end it, or just say forget about it. But once I got to about halfway, maybe mile 10 to 11, that started to fade away. And then it just became, all right, let's finish this. So I figured the best thing to do would be to provide advice, especially for those of you that are training for not only the Marine Corps Marathon with me, but also any marathon or any long race. This also applies to ultra marathons. If you don't know what an ultra marathon is, look it up. It is nothing short of impressive. These will be a couple tips to help you guys mentally prepare and also physically get through long runs like I did on Tuesday. So tip number 1. Embrace the fact that it is not going to be fun. Trust me, it is going to suck, especially at first. Especially if you're doing over 13 miles. Because you're going to get a couple miles in and you're going to start playing that game where you think, okay, I'm 2 miles in, I have to run 20 miles, I'm only 10% of the way there and I'm already not feeling this. So to get around this, what I did was I focused on my pace. I made sure that the pace I was running was consistent. I could repeat it almost every single mile within a couple seconds. Ideally, you should be able to keep everything within a 10 to 20 second range. I ended up settling somewhere around an 8:45 at the beginning, and that creeped up a little bit to somewhere in the 8:50s by the end. While this ties into my next tip, what it primarily does too is it also gives you the skills you need to become proficient with endurance running and to put together a good marathon. Consistency is key. With most things in life, and especially with long runs such as this, I'm sure you guys can imagine if you're able to repeat your pace mile after mile after mile after mile, it becomes second nature. Everything becomes smoother, and then that's how you end up putting together good long races, good half marathons, good fast 10 milers, and good marathons. And also ultras for the people out there that do those. Seriously, props to you guys. Tip number 2 is to take breaks. So for me, there are supported runs and unsupported runs. When I talk about supported runs, I mean think of it like a race where you have designated water stations, you have designated food and aid stations along the way. Or similar would be on Saturdays, and I think some Sundays around here, Pacers and the Potomac Running Club will have a little stop set up along the George Washington Parkway where they offer runners Gatorade, water, cookies at some of them, pretzels, goo, stuff like that. So a big thank you to not only Pacers but also Potomac Running Club. So that's what I mean by support, is that you're literally getting support from someone else. Whereas an unsupported run is like what I did on Tuesday. So for an unsupported run, it's literally just running, taking with you whatever you can. So for me, that is a 2-liter Camelback, and I ended up bringing 2 little 100-calorie packs of granola. Now the interesting thing about this is you can actually be a little bit more flexible with your stops, and you can actually work on specific things. So for me, it happened to work out perfectly on Tuesday. So to prep for the Clarendon Day run, which is a 5K then a 10K, I ended up having my first water stop be somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 3.5 miles, which is 5K, a little bit over, give or take. And then my second stop was somewhere in the neighborhood of 9.5, so about another 6 miles of 10K. I didn't really go into the run planning that, but it was just interesting how it worked out that way, that I was able to actually simulate those 2 races, or one race depending on how you look at it. And I was actually able to work a specific training into my long run, so that helped the run move along. So after that, I stopped and ate at around 14 miles. Planning it this way is actually a bit of a mental break because it allows you to break your run up into certain sections. And this is something I saw a lot online, where the best way to approach this is to just break it up into smaller chunks and just focus on each chunk as you go along. So tip number 3. One thing I saw quite a lot online was to kind of plan a reward. So I didn't really focus on this while I was doing my 18-mile run, but it's definitely something I'll consider for the next few. I mean, I think about halfway through I got pretty thirsty and was craving something sweet for obvious reasons. And I think I decided to go to Dunkin' Donuts or get like a frap at Starbucks or something. But I ended up falling asleep on the couch, and by the time I woke up, I had enough time to make some food for the rest of the day and then go over to work. So I didn't really have my heart set on it, and I didn't really go through with my own reward to myself, but it is what it is. And the thinking here is just because you're putting that much distance in, you have the flexibility in your diet to reward yourself. So I think I mentioned it before, but I burned over 2,600 calories on Tuesday. But needless to say, whatever ungodly amount of sugar is in like a frap or a colada or an ice cream cone or donut or something like that, you're not going to give too much ground back in terms of your diet. But for a lot of other people, it is something that's powerful, and it does work really well. It helps them stay motivated. I won't knock it. I just don't do it personally. That's all. So tip number 4, use social media for accountability, which is kind of what I've been doing with these videos, along with trying to promote Brooks Charity and trying to promote fitness together. But social media and your network of friends can actually be a really powerful tool with your accountability. What I ended up doing was I ended up using the stories feature on Instagram and posting a photo of every stop I took. So think of it kind of like a mini episode of these videos. So a couple of my friends viewed it. A couple of my friends sent me text messages along the way encouraging me. Actually ended up texting Gabby at every one of my stops too, and she was encouraging me as well. So thank you, sweetheart. This can be especially profound. The saving reward is to go and get a drink or go to brunch. You can go with the people in your friend circle that were holding you accountable. So you can actually tie a whole bunch of these together, kind of like I did with the breaks and the consistency. The final tip is just do it. You know, you can't beat yourself up. You can't play the what if game. You can't freak yourself out over nothing. Just get it done. It won't be that bad. And when you're done, you'll feel a heck of a lot better. Again, the sky's the limit with all these, but these are just the 5 that stuck out the most to me when I was doing my research, and 5 that I also used myself to kind of push myself through the tough sections and get myself to the end. Again, thank you guys very much for watching as always. The next video will be about Clarendon Day. I will try to get that out Saturday night or Sunday. Nonetheless, as always, please fund the run. Every dollar counts, guys. We get closer every single day. The link is down below on YouTube. If you're watching this on Facebook, click through to YouTube, and the link will be right below down here. For more information about Running Brook, the link will be below that on YouTube as well. As always, we'll have Fitness Together's Facebook and website down there in the bottom, along with all the research and some comments about this video. So again, guys, remember to share this video everywhere, like, subscribe if you're on YouTube, and please, please, please remember to donate. Thank you guys again very much for your time. I'll see you in a couple days.
Well, it's called a footed terrarium. I just think that would be cool for like a fish bowl. You fill it up there and you have like a really tiny fish.
Except what happens when it jumps out. Well, what happens when it jumps out?
Buy another one.